Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we're privileged to have with us Nathan Hirsch, who's an expert in remote hiring and the co-founder of FreeeUp and Outsource School. Nathan, welcome to the program.
Thanks again for having me.
Hey, it was great. We had you on a couple of years back, and of course that was when you were had co-founded FreeeUp, and you've now sold that. So give us a little bit of backstory on how that progressed. And obviously you don't sell a company unless you had some wonderful success. And then I'm certain you took half a second and caught your breath and okay, now what? So bring us up to speed on what you've been doing lately.
Yeah, I mean, FreeeUp was a great adventure. We started that four and a half years ago, and I mean, we started it with $5,000, and by the time we got to year 4, we were doing over 8 figures. We still had no office, no U.S. employees. The entire business was run with virtual assistants, and one of our clients actually reached out to us, a customer of FreeeUp, and they had bought other businesses before. They were trying to get into the virtual assistant freelancer space, and they told us that they didn't want to build it from scratch when asked us if we would be interested in being acquired. From there, they asked us a lot of questions, came to us with an offer that we felt like was more than fair, if not aggressive, and we had to weigh a lot of different factors. I mean, we were kind of at the point where we were in uncharted territory. We had never grown a business that big. There was going to have to be drastic structural changes to get it to the next level. And we thought we could do it, but there's also a chance that there would have been hard learning lessons along the way and other factors as well. And we really wanted to turn it into a win for everyone if we were able to sell it. So we went through due diligence. They had a ton of questions for us. We had just as many questions for them. We wanted to make sure that we weren't selling it to someone who was going to drive it into the ground or hurt our reputation or hurt our business in some way or anything like that. And they checked the boxes. We really look up to them as entrepreneurs. We even have a great relationship up to this day. And from there, how do we make it a win-win? And so we took $500,000 from the sale, gave it to our internal team in the Philippines to make sure they were taken care of it and made sure their jobs were secure and went from there. And I mean, even since then, we continue to check in with our team. We were just talking to the new owners yesterday. They've been awesome, and they're obviously going to make changes, but they've been running stuff by us, which they don't really have to do, and just kind of continuing the relationship there. So it ended up being a win for everyone.
And of course, with your new venture, Outsource School, you have a referral relationship back to say, hey, guys, when you learn how to hire and scale, here is a wonderful resource. So I think that's a nice tie-in that way. So let's get into, so just out of my curiosity is, when that sale was final, how long did it take you and your partner to come up with, now here's what we should do? Did you literally take a month or two off or was this kind of bubbling in the background?
Yeah, it wasn't bubbling in the background. When we sold FreeeUp, we had no plans. We sold it around November. So we took a little bit of time off, spent the time with the families, holidays. We actually made a bunch of travel plans. Little did we know the pandemic would kind of change all of those. But then people started reaching out to us, and they said, hey, we know you don't offer virtual assistants anymore, but can you teach us your systems, your processes, how you interview, how you onboard, how you use them for lead generation? And so we created this minimum viable product, which we called Cracking the VA Code, which taught people how to interview, onboard, train, and manage. And we did it under the name Outsource School. We took it to market. We actually launched the exact week that coronavirus hit, so it was kind of a little bit crazy. We didn't know if it was going to go well or poorly. And we were also under the mentality that, hey, just because we sold the business doesn't mean that every idea we come up with going forward is going to be a good one. So if people don't like it, we'll just refund them and move on to something else. But luckily people liked it and they wanted more. And we kind of saw this vision of creating a membership where our members get access to be able to hire virtual assistants, rockstar virtual assistants quickly whenever they need them. Our members have the ability to reduce and eliminate turnover and issues using our tactics and strategies, but also save time creating standard operating procedures by getting access to our library of training documents that they can give to virtual assistants and a software that we built made by the same developer as FreeeUp to create and share SOPs. So all this kind of came together over time to where Outsource School is now, where members get access to all these different tactics, strategies, operating procedures, software, and we kind of organize and onboard them to make it easy to scale their business.
I think the story is just so amazing and wonderful, and I'm not just saying that. I just think it's really, really cool. So let's just kind of put a cherry on top and go, okay, most people know what VA and outsourcing will do for a company. What I would ask you is, does your Outsource School curriculum, content, learning, does all that provide something like this, where like I myself would feel like if I was looking at bringing on a VA or a team of VAs, what do they look? I know my business, I know what I do, and I know this task takes me 5 or 10 minutes, and this one 15. And you shouldn't look at it like that. You should look at it like at the whole macro level and go, hold up. Yeah, you can do this and knock it out in 5 or 10, 15 minutes, but that cumulative, over the course of the day, if all of that was taken off your plate, what could you be doing? Do you get into helping people structure in their own business? Yeah, we'll help you train and hire, get VAs, but now here's what they should do to free up your time, use your term, but to free up your time, and then now here's what you can do to use that time to get more business in for yourself.
Yeah, it's a great point. And we do that really at the beginning of cracking the VA code, where it's like, hey, you're going to get these hours back, but it's what you do with these hours that are important. And everyone's in a different place. Like, you've got some entrepreneurs who are working 100 hours a week, and they need to just spend more time with their family and live a little bit. And what's the point of being an entrepreneur if you don't have any time for yourself? And you have other people who are bogged down in their inbox all day, but they really should be focused on sales, marketing, and expansion. So figuring out how many hours you can get back quickly, because you want some quick wins, and then what you're going to do with those hours. And then once you are able to implement that using our strategy, then it becomes addictive. Then it becomes fun, because we have so many crazy things that you can do with virtual assistants that people don't even think of. Like right now, I'm training a virtual assistant to do sales calls. They're actually, if you go to outsourceschool.com, you'll be able to schedule a call with my virtual assistant in the Philippines, who makes around $5 an hour, who loves Outsource School, who will be able to answer all your questions, walk you through Outsource School. You can make a buying decision after that. And not only do you get to experience that, but we're going to teach you exactly how you can set that up in your business if you want to. And we've got lots of other things like that go far beyond what people think they can do with virtual assistants. But you're right. It all starts with, how do I get that initial time back? How do I see that this actually works and I can apply it to my life? And then the fun begins.
I remember, this is probably 15 years ago, I was in the mortgage banking industry, and I hired a business coach, and one of the first things they took me through for 2 weeks, I had this piece of paper, back when you actually wrote things down on paper, before I went all digital, but they're like, okay, every 30-minute segment of time throughout the workday, I want you to write down what you did. So just stop and write down what you did. And then we looked at it over that 2-week period, and it's like, you shouldn't have been doing that. You should, where could you offload, and where could you, and I would think that would be a really great place to start in anybody's business, because maybe there's things you're just doing, not even registering with yourself, but you're just doing this. But maybe if someone from the outside looking in, or maybe you wrote this, or yourself wrote this down, and you're looking at it going at the end of the couple of weeks and go, If I knew that this VA could do something the way that I would feel comfortable with, and I knew that 25% of these items could be done by someone other than me, wow, that would kind of really feel good.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we have a calendar management playbook that really helps you define what your ideal day looks like and break down where you're spending your tasks. I mean, even outside of virtual assistants, this is one of the best things that I ever did, figuring out, hey, what do I want my day to look like? Like, I like waking up early. From 7 to 9 a.m. is my time. I like working out in the morning. So from 9 to 10:30, I'm working out. I like doing only one podcast a day, and I don't like doing it too late or too early. So that middle of the day, like right now, I'm doing a podcast with you at noon, my one podcast a day, and then have phone calls in the afternoon until 3 o'clock when my day ends, and phone calls. I can be outside walking the dogs. I don't have to be stuck inside, and that's what my ideal day looks like. So now I set that up so I do my ideal day every single day. It helps me maximize and get the most out of every day. And then if you want to, you can have a virtual assistant help you handle that. When people reach out to me and ask me to go on a podcast or schedule a meeting, they say, hey, Nathan's booked out for X amount of time. He only does one podcast a day. Hey, let's schedule a meeting here. And everything kind of goes around your ideal day.
And so what do you say to someone that would say, I long for the day that I need a virtual assistant or a team of virtual assistants, but my business isn't quite to the point where I need that yet, so I need more revenue coming in, so I'm overly busy and would need that. So you mentioned you have a virtual assistant that's trained to sell. Well, do you feel like there's certain types of products or services that would be more geared to that? And I'm thinking more maybe like the word high ticket comes to mind, or where you need to have specialized knowledge about the service, where maybe you would worry that even if you tried training a virtual assistant to sell your product or service, that might not be a good fit. What would you say to someone that has those thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the second you start to think that you're the only person that can do stuff in your business is the second you put a ceiling on how far you can grow your business. I mean, there's just very few solo entrepreneurs out there that are doing $1 million a year. It just doesn't really exist. And a friend of mine, Alex Sharpin, has a great quote. He says, if you think you're the only person that can do what you do in your business, I have news for you. You're not that special. And I always think that's just a great quote, because you have to be able to put that in perspective. There's always someone that can do sales better than you, that can do bookkeeping or billing better than you, customer service better than you. And if I can do it and we can teach other members at Outsource School to do it, there's no reason that you can't do it. Now, if you've never hired a virtual assistant before, should your first hire be a 40-hour-a-week sales VA? Probably not. We're going to start you off at 5 hours a week, get some time back, start in a smaller task. You'll gain some experience. You try out our systems, trust people a little bit more, and build up from there. But there's no end to what you can use virtual assistants for.
And if you did want to have one of those, higher thought level products or services to be sold, you just get a virtual assistant that would be acclimated for that. You don't get like the general VA that only knows how to do data entry and social media posting. You would pay more than whatever, $5 an hour. You would need to pay a little bit more, but you're probably not going to pay $50 an hour. So I think that you would need to know what your outcome is and then what you would need to do to fulfill that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I kind of said before, everyone's at a different place when they join Outsource School or even check out Outsource School. Some people have never hired before. They've been a solo entrepreneur for years. They're used to doing it their ways. Other people have tried hiring, but they've struggled. They've made bad hires. It costs them time and energy and money, and they're scared to go through that again without the right system. And we've got other people who are crushing it, who are hiring lots of VAs. We have one member who has more VAs than I do, and they just like our library of standard operating procedures because that just saves them time, and they just give them to their team. So everyone's at a different point, and one of the fun things that we got to implement is my team gets to meet with people, see where they're at, and we have so much content, so many systems, but create a roadmap that makes it very step-by-step and easy to go through.
So let's talk a little bit about the roadmap because I think that you can have like a generic roadmap / playbook that would say to use a VA to the fullest in this capacity, here's what you need to do. But then when you start getting into having the VA know what you need to have done, there is probably, now correct me if I'm wrong, but there's probably no roadmap that you can just give a VA a login to a section of Outsource School that says, go learn all this and then do it in my business, because you're going to have nuances. So then that's where you would use like your proprietary software that you would go, okay, Mr. or Ms. VA, now you have the gist of what we want to do. Here's how I like to have it done, and here's the steps or the videos or the images. Am I thinking correctly that way?
Yeah, and the roadmap's more for the client. And when I say roadmap, it's like, hey, we've got cracking the VA code. That's going to teach you how to interview, onboard, train, and manage. And inside each of those is different things. Like in management, we show you how to run meetings, how to communicate properly, and all those things are important. And it's not rocket science. It's not going to take tons and tons of time, but you should understand that system before you just start going around hiring random people. And then from there, you get access to our library of SOPs. Well, some of those things are to get your time back, like inbox management, calendar management, customer service, and some of them are to actually grow your business, like lead generation, getting on podcasts, partnerships, all run by virtual assistants. So it's learn the fundamentals, and then depending on where you're at in your business, what are we trying to do first? Are we trying to go after clients? Are we trying to get your time back? And what makes sense? Are you stuck in your inbox? Is that a good place to start? Should we be trying to get you more leads so you can afford more people? And so everyone's roadmap is a little different. And some people are really struggling to interview, so we spend more time there. Other people, they have a good process that's working, and they can just take some of our stuff and add it to what they're already doing and then jump ahead to the library. So it just depends where exactly they're at.
Yeah. Exactly. So thinking about your 4-step process or a 4-step process that, you come to the realization, I need some help because I think it would be great to have some time back for me to even breathe. Because literally I spoke with a client of mine yesterday who's an attorney, and she goes, I took like the first half day or first Sunday off in months, and because I had to, I'm just overwhelmed, and it just felt like the world was lifted off my shoulders. So you need that for yourself, physically, mentally, spiritually, stress wise, the whole thing. If someone gets to that point and they're like, okay, cool, now what? Interviewing, onboarding, trading, and managing. So those 4 steps, what are you finding people making the biggest mistakes in some of those stages? Like, I'm sure it's kind of like ready, aim, fire, and people sometimes go ready, fire, 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 aim.
Yeah. There's so many mistakes people make in there. I mean, if you want to start just on the interviewing level, most people vet just for experience, and they don't vet for attitude and communication, which is a big part of it. A lot of people are doing these Zoom interviews that they get to talk to the VA in person or over Zoom via video, via voice, but that has nothing to do with their role. What they really need to figure out is, can this VA communicate on Slack and email? In management, I mean, setting up communication systems, but also what meetings are you going to have? A lot of people hire their VA and just say go, and there's no follow-up, there's no feedback loop. So we want to set those things in place because it's a lot harder than going back, or let's say you've worked with someone for 6 months and then being, oh, okay, now we're going to take a gigantic step back and get on the same page. You want to be proactive instead of reactive. So each of those stages has a lot of different red flags, and sometimes just pointing out what are the biggest mistakes that people make is going to steer people in the right direction.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Now let's flip over to the other side of the equation, which is, what are some people that have come through Outsource School or started using it, and what are some of the big ahas that they say to you, like, you know what, I thought it was going to do this for me, but wow, I had no idea it was going to do that.
Yeah, I think people are surprised on how virtual assistants can actually help grow their business. I mean, we have a member, Dan Robbins, who within a first week, he landed like 3 or 4 different clients that a VA had actually just found those leads. We had another client who posted yesterday that they got on their first podcast with the VA who found the podcast and reached out to the host with it. Other people have set up team leaders and assistant team leaders in their business so that they're just dealing with 1 or 2 people instead of managing their entire team. So everyone's a little bit unique, but everything we teach is designed to be implemented quickly. There are systems that you can plug into your business. So it's not something you have to wait 6 months and then you hire your first VA. All this stuff is fast.
Yeah. Well, and kind of like think about something too, how the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step, so you don't need to sign up for Outsource School, consume all the content in an hour or a week or a month, and you could just take baby steps and implement one thing at a time. And ultimately, it would be nice to have someone that does sales and customer service and all these things, but start with one thing. Start with something that would be nice to go, it sure would be nice if I had a VA who, some fill in the blank there, and it might not be sales just yet. So do it in stages and see some of that. And I really feel like the positive motivation of seeing some work done gives you even more excited. So many times we go, wow, if we can break this big project down into these little steps, I'm now more motivated to get to step 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Whereas if I looked at the whole project to begin with, I'm overwhelmed. So approach this idea, because many people are hearing this going, I don't have a VAs or a team of VAs. So approach it with, do a little bit of learning and have a little bit of a plan and that roadmap, and start with step 1. Don't feel like you have to do everything all at once.
Yeah, and I mean, small wins end up being big wins. If you can get just 5 hours back a week, that's 260 hours back a year. That's 6.5 extra weeks that you get as a year just for hiring a 5-hour-a-week virtual assistant. And you can hire a 5-hour-a-week virtual assistant in the first 30 days of going through our content. And so small wins can equal a lot of time and a lot of results.
Super. Yeah. I mean, so, okay, now let's just kind of pull the curtain back just a little bit. And if someone is inside of Outsource School, what are they seeing and getting? And let's kind of keep in mind that feeling of overwhelm. I know that, and I have no clue of this answer, so I'm not setting it up one way or the other, but I do know that if you were to buy a course on anything and you get inside and you're like, here's the 472 modules, and you're like, oh my word, I'm overwhelmed, and you tend to get frozen and not do anything. So what is it like? Do people feel like, okay, good, here's the first step and I'm going to clarify this, and yeah, it makes me feel good to move on? So what are people going to experience when they first log in and can get access to Outsource School?
Yeah, and keep in mind, you get an onboarding call first. So that's first and foremost. So everything is going to be laid out. All your questions are going to be answered. You're going to get access to our portal in Kajabi that has cracking the VA code and also the library of SOPs that are neatly organized, and you'll be able to go through them following your roadmap. You're going to get access to our Facebook group where it's very active. People are posting questions. We post in it every day. We do live coaching calls every Wednesday that people can join if they need help. And you get access to our software, Simply SOP, and our team can give you a demo as well. So you're really getting access to the onboarding call, portal with all of our stuff neatly outlined, our Facebook group, and our software.
Awesome. Well, man, I just really love everything that you've been doing here, Nathan. And what's the best way that someone can reach out, learn more about Outsource School, and see if that might be a good fit for them?
Yeah, go to outsourceschool.com. You can even grab a free trial. It's either $97 a month or $9.97 for the year to join.
Awesome. And I'll make sure that link is in the show notes. Well, Nathan, congrats on your success, and thank you for taking that to the next level and teaching people how to come behind you and the trail that you've blazed and kind of make this their own. And I encourage everyone to take a look at Outsource School. And thank you for your time today on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.